feeling solo, time to get down with the team. The grass is greener on that other side. If you know what I mean, I show you shit you never seen. The 7 wonders of the world.
What's up, y'all? This is Lauren Mack with COSIGN Magazine, and we are here with the Trill OG himself, Bun B.
What I wanted to ask you first is, the new album is called Return to the Trill, but honestly, you haven't been anywhere. For 30 years, you kind of, been relevant and, become a legend in the hip hop game. How have you managed to stay on the top of conversation all the time?
Just about being involved in things that real people can relate to. I try to make my music as personable as possible. I try not to use it as a wall to divide me from people. And then in the real world, I don't do that either. So I don't walk around with a bunch of security and people separating myself from the people that want to get next to me. We go out, we show love, we let people know that we appreciate them on every level. And we just try to show ourselves as, as regular people and humanize ourselves as much as possible.
Right. So for the fan base that's not Texas Trill, who don't know that UGK coined that phrase, can you kind of give me, a brief overview of what it really means to be Trill? We got a lot of people using the word these days.
I'm just saying that, being Trill is always meant, keeping it 100 with yourself. Because if you can't keep it 100 with yourself, you can't keep it 100 with other people,
Right.
And where you hear the word from, it may have a different meaning, but it's fun to me that UGK and Port Arthur, Texas were the first people that really started using that term. We always meant it as just a way of separating ourselves from other people, and everybody wanted to say they was real and all of that. You're like, no, we Trill, we true and we real, so we Trill, and it's just about being whoever it is that you are and being comfortable in your skin with that, Like that you don't have to be a gangster to be Trill. You don't have to be a criminal, a hardcore, in a gang, or none of that shit to be Trill. All you have to do is be who you are and be honest about who you are.
Right. Okay. That's super dope. So a lot of people's exposure to you as an artist was, when you guys when UGK collabed with Jay-Z. Me personally, Houston is my second home, but I grew up in Detroit, and I was a middle school kid trying to figure out what PAT was before I moved to Houston.
Right.
So, how do you think that, mainstream exposure put, UGK was the kind of took the Southern sound and put it on the map?
Well, I mean, there was people before us like the Ghetto Boys. We wanted to make sure that we, honored everything that Jay Rap a lot of record had done, but opening the doors for Houston and just represented it in a real way. We didn't know how long we'd be doing it. We didn't know how far out it would spread, so we just had to keep it real with the people in front of us. And luckily, as the music spread out and the sound spread out, people could relate to our world point, the way we looked at the world. And that's all we wanted to do was just let people know we were real people, we were genuine people. Wasn't nothing extra about us. We were just walking the path that we was chosen to walk on and just playing it how it went.
Right. So you've always made a point to put Port Arthur on the map. In that sense, the album art for the new album is the signs, the PA, and you've been instrumental in the recovery from the Hurricane Harvey recovery in Port Arthur. And so I wanted to ask you, just from a Texan standpoint, what is your long-term goal or plan as far as the revitalization of the city right now? Because I know that it has been a long haul coming back from the storm.
Well, the reality is that we need commerce. You know what I'm saying? We can't rebuild the city unless people have jobs that they can go to and earn money and then put that money back into the community. So the number one priority for the city of Port Arthur has always been commerce. Bring industry into town, bring jobs into town. And when there's jobs and there's money for people, they spend more in the community that they live in, and then collectively we can all bring Port Arthur back up to where we think it should be, But people can't do it unless they have jobs and ways to take care of their families. So that's the main priority, is commerce. And then after that, it's definitely about, fund distribution as far as helping to rebuild the city as much as state government and federal government can allot to that area. Because Port Arthur ain't the only town that needs relief, but we do need relief. But we've had some help, but it's going to be a long-term process. So we need the government, state and federal, as well as local, to have long-term priorities and to address those needs.
Okay. So I want to get, I know we're, got the album coming out next week, so I want to kind of dive into those questions. First of all, this is your, fifth solo album, and you had projects with UGK, been making music for all this time. Do you find yourself in competition with yourself trying to outdo your last project, or are you just doing it and doing what you feel at the time?
Well, I used to be like that. I used to be like, this one got to be better than the last one. But at this point in my career, it's not necessarily a competition. We just want to make sure that we give people a well-rounded body of work. So there's certain things that people expect to hear from me. We want to make sure that we give them those things, whether it be musically or content-wise. And then, anything that I feel like needs to be addressed that other people aren't addressing, we do that as well. And then after that, if there's any kind of experimentation that we can do, a little fun that we can have, because you want this process to be fun. And for me, it wasn't fun for a long time. So just now it's starting to be something that I enjoy again. So it's just a matter of combination of those three things, and we accomplish all three of those goals, and we're happy with what we have.
What made the music fun again?
Well, I didn't even really feel like music. That's why there hasn't been a studio out in over 5 years, because I honestly, with MC passing away, I didn't really enjoy the process anymore. It was just like basically phoning it in. So my wife was the one who suggested that I get back in the studio, and she's the one that suggested that I should probably try to work with Big Crit, because Big Crit is a friend of mine. We enjoy each other's company. We have fun together. But then he's also an incredibly talented musician, and it ended up being an amazing combination.
Right. So I wanted to ask you a lot about the features. The guest list on this album is just crazy. You got all types of legends on here. So you got T.I., you got A-Ball, MJG, Crit, Slim Thug, Lil Wayne, 2 Chainz, Yo Gotti. All of these big names in Southern rap. Was that intentional? Like, did you want to show off the landscape of the South, or this is who you vibe with?
Well, I mean, a lot of these people are really good friends of mine. I've known 2 Chainz for a long time, Yo Gotti for a long time, since they first, decided to try to get in the rap industry. I've known T.I. since the early trap music mixtapes, and and so a lot of these people I've just known for a long time, and it just so happens that they've grown into some of the biggest names in the industry. I've known Lil Wayne probably since he was 12, 13 years old. And he's grown into a rap legend of his own. I was there in the early days, trying to make sure that they weren't concentrating on the wrong things, so they could concentrate on what they needed to. And so it just, to me, it's amazing to see how far, people like Slim Thug have come, people like Crit have come, A-Ball and MJG, we all started at the same time. It's beautiful to see that we're both still around here, still making great music for people, still entertaining people, and still loving what we do. And I feel like, we're going to do music with people. It needs to be people that not only are good artists, but people that we know and we get along with. So the process doesn't get complicated, So when we call a T.I., we already know, T.I. is going to more than likely come on in and do what we need to do. So T.I. knows if he calls me, he can get what he needs,
So one of the features that surprised me just from a listener standpoint was seeing Leon Bridges' name come up. So I wanted to kind of ask you, how did that collaboration come about, and then kind of what we can expect from the sound of that song, because that's a departure from what you might expect from Bun B.
Well, Leon Bridges is an amazing soul singer. You know what I'm saying? He really brings back the old days of the Sam Cookes and the Otis Reddings and the Al Greens and people like that. And so we did a song, a dedication song to Pimp C on the album, and Crit had did a reference hook, and I was like, man, I know who would really sound good on this and give us a really good sound. It would be Leon Bridges. So we reached out to him, and he was happy to be a part of the project. We were extremely happy to have him be a part of the project. And then you got Gary Clark Jr. Also playing guitar on that song as well. And we're all Texas boys, you know what I'm saying? Gary's from Austin, Leon's from Fort Worth, and I'm from Port Arthur. So we're all Texas boys. So it's it's magic when you get all of this great Texas music and these great Texas people together. I think we made an incredibly emotional and soulful record.
That's super dope. I'm excited to hear it. What's your favorite track so far off this project, or do you have a favorite?
This is one of the few times where I actually have a song that stands out to me, and on this album, it's called "Blood on the Dash." It's a record that really speaks to the social situation in America. It's basically about an interaction between a young black man and a police officer, and basically how both of them go into these situations, nervous and cautious and not really knowing what to expect, because there have been, police officers that have obviously killed regular citizens, but then there's also been citizens that have ambushed the police too. So both of them are really just nervous and scared. And that's how sometimes these situations get out of hand because people don't know what to expect with their interaction, and sometimes they overreact, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make a record that kind of humanized the situation for people who don't understand what it's like being in the city, being in the inner cities, and getting pulled over by the police. And then for people that don't really know what it's like when the police have to pull people over sometimes.
Right.
So I'm not really picking sides. I'm just showing that this is the dynamic that exists. And because of the reason that no one really knows how the other person is going to react sometimes, that's how these situations get blown out of proportion.
Right. Was it one of your goals to have social commentary on the album, or that just something that came about?
No, I felt it was necessary to make that song. I also have a song that talks about criminalization in America and the prison industrial complex, and just, you know, how young people get caught up not really understanding what they're getting themselves into, and they don't understand that prison is a business nowadays. It's a concerted effort to put young people of color in the inner cities into prison and make money off of them. So some things like that I know that nobody is thinking about talking about, or maybe don't have the frame of reference to talk about. So I felt that I should talk about it.
Okay. So at COSIGN magazine, we always ask artists who do they co-sign, and so we know you just listed all these people who are your personal friends and that sort of stuff. But do you have any young artists who you're looking at who you necessarily haven't had a chance to work with, or even, you know, kind of build relationships with, that you would give a co-sign to?
Yeah, definitely. Guys like Yella Beezy out of Dallas, he's got a great movement going on right now. It's amazing to see how his song is taking off, and people are, you know, really feeling him right now. Somebody that we wanted to bring in for the album release concert, but he just couldn't make it for us. Also, Tobe, I never know how to really say his last name. He's a new African artist.
Yeah, he's right.
He's got a real strong buzz going right now. And from my hometown, there's a new young kid named P.A. Youngin that's doing some amazing things. Him and his name B. Lean, and GP represents the Crew 4-5. So there's a lot of young talent out there. They're doing some really good things. I just haven't had a chance to work with them yet, but I'm trying to, you know, help guide them along the way, and hopefully, you know, they'll get a piece of the music industry.
Right. How important to you is mentorship? You know, you Trill OG. So how important to you is, you know, being a mentor to young artists in the industry?
Well, I mean, you know, if you speak the right words into the right person's life, you can change not only their lives, but you can change a lot of lives. Because if they become famous, they get to employ people, and they get these fan bases, and everybody, you know, gets to hear new music and be inspired. So, you know, whether it's been like a Lil Wayne or a Drake or, you know, people like that, it's been important for me, if I have an opportunity, to speak into these young cats' lives, that I do so, and give them a little bit of game that they might not have been able to get anywhere else, you know. I was lucky when I was coming up to have people like Too Short and Scarface and Jay Prince, you know, give me some game. You know, it helped me navigate the game. So whenever I see young people who have a great opportunity, but maybe just don't have anybody on their team that has any real experience in the industry, then I go out there and I try to give them some game so they understand what they're getting themselves into.
So you mentioned earlier that your wife pushed you to get back in the studio. One of my questions I wanted to ask you was about you and your wife collaborating on the podcast, and how that came about, and why y'all decided to do that together.
Well, we've been looking for different things to do together because, like I said, a lot of this stuff has been fun for me before, so that was one way of getting back into the mainstream and enjoying it, was doing it with my wife. And I have a very, very strong, very centered wife, and she helps me navigate a lot of these troubles now in these later years of hip-hop. And so, you know, there's certain things that we do together, and the podcast is really just a reflection of a lot of the conversations that we have and how we have them in real life. And we thought, you know, we put a camera and a microphone in front of us, having these conversations that people might be interested.
Right. So another question I just want to ask you, are you still teaching, and kind of walk me through, you know, Professor Bun B's coursework?
Well, we're not teaching this semester. I'm not teaching this semester. It's the first one I've taken off since we've offered the class together, myself and Dr. Anthony Finn. And over like 5 years, it's the first semester I've taken off because I really needed to get back into the recording, you know, and getting the music out there and then going out promoting the music and that kind of a thing. And it's something that we really hadn't been doing. So, you know, we had to take a semester off, but we'll definitely get back to it. You know, it's an amazing time in hip hop right now, and it's an amazing time with artists representing and you know, explaining their spirituality and which is usually the heart of the conversation that we have in our class, because it's not a music course, it's a religious course. It's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a humanities. It's in the humanities department, so it's mainly about religion. But we show parallels between religion and hip hop culture as ways to express yourself as people of color in America from post-slavery to modern times. And so it's really not just about if this rapper's a Christian or if this rapper's a Muslim, but it shows how Christianity has expressed itself through America, and how that different ways of how Christianity has represented itself parallel with different factions and different people in hip hop. And then when we get into spirituality and we talk about different people expressing their religious beliefs and stuff like that, and, there's been a lot of great content over the last couple of years, from Jesus Walks all the way up to, Kendrick Lamar and Chance the Rapper and Lecrae. So we have a lot of different content that we could draw from for this class. So every time we teach it, it changes a little bit due to the musical soundscape changing.
Okay. So I took up enough of your time. I wanted to just kind of ask you one last question about the album. It drops on the 31st. You're having a huge album release concert here in Dallas, and I wanted to know if there's any, thoughts or, kind of intro that you want to give fans when they're listening to this album, what to expect from it, different sounds, or, what you are excited about that you wanted to share.
Well, I mean, when people, buy the album and the first song comes on, they're going to know, okay, this is definitely a Bun B album. And a lot of the content on there kind of leads itself towards music and content that you're familiar with for me. And then there's a song or two that delves into a little bit different musical soundscape, but the content is still consistent with everything I've done. So, out of 14 songs, I would say 11 or 12 of them are going to sound like pretty much everything you've heard from me. And there may be one or two records that sound a little bit different, but that doesn't make them worse or better. It just fits with what we're doing. I don't want to get stuck in constantly doing the same thing over and over. I think my fans deserve better than that. So anytime we can add a little something different to the game, they appreciate it, and we're happy to.
Okay, well, that's really all the questions I had. I want to thank you again. This is for COSIGN Magazine, and we're also covering the album release event. So I've just been so excited. It's been an honor to talk to you. Like I said, I'm a huge Bun B fan, so I'm kind of fangirling out right now. But I really want to thank you again for taking the time out to talk to us, and much success with the new project, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the support.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Now when they come to making money, I'm a printing press. And when they come to being Trill, I'm the litmus test. Run it like a fitness test. And when they come to making history, I'm like Joe's son. A million ways to die, you already chose one.